came out, and that was 120 or Pentium 90 or Pentium 120. Just amazing.
Well, I think
Hey,
we're going to
Brandy,
go
we'll stop gabbing. Yeah.
That's okay. I think we're going to get started. I always like to try and start at the top of the hour. Just know that this call is being recorded. We've got a lot of great information for you today, so we want to make sure that we capture that information so that you can share it with others. And then we, again, so super excited to welcome everybody to our first Spilling the Beans of 2025. We genuinely appreciate the time that you take out of your day to come and learn with us. And we have a great lineup today. We have a special guest with us today. Obviously, we have our host, Dean Sheely, our trusty host. Appreciate you so much for really being the face and the voice of Spilling the Beans. Just a couple of housekeeping items before I turn it over to our speakers, but mute yourself. If you have questions, you can certainly post them in the chat. We will have questions at the end. I'm your facilitator today, so I'll be kind of monitoring the chat. Any questions, again, once the call is over, it has been recorded. We'll pull the recording and then we'll post it out on YouTube, and we'll make sure that you guys know, once it's posted so you can share it out. But again, really excited to join, to have you join us for the Microsoft Exchange SE Spilling the Beans. I've got Dean Sheely with me today, and we've also got Chris Watson, our Microsoft specialist, two of my favorite people in the whole world are with us today. So I'm super excited. Just so much good information to share with you today. So I will not hold us up any further. I'm going to turn it over to Dean Sheely, our host, to kick us off, and then we will be hearing from Chris Watson.
Yeah, hey, thanks for joining today, everybody. And like Brandy said, I'm just co-hosting today, and I'm most excited just to be a part of the audience today. When we're talking about security, obviously, I feel very comfortable there, being one of several security resources at High Point. But hearing from Chris Watson today, talking about Exchange SE, I'm excited to learn about that. And Chris is one of those guys where we say, he's a jack of all trades and also a master of most of those trades too. So I mean, not only a cloud expert, but a security expert, and really a leader within High Point Network. So when Brandy says, some of our favorite people, obviously Chris is a part of that. And just to brag on Chris here a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see his background, but he actually visited that here recently. So I'm quite jealous. And I think the last thing I'll say is that, like Brandy said, this is our first Spilling the Beans series of 2025. We usually try to do these once a month, every 3 weeks, every 5 weeks, kind of give or take. So keep an eye on that. And then I think we're going to try something new this summer where we're going to do some podcasts of different lengths, short form and also long form, where we're going to, selfishly, I'm going to bring in some security experts that I know from around the area outside of High Point, but also within High Point. And again, we have several resources, and probably just bring in some business leadership people to maybe talk about tariffs. And there's an insurance expert that I'd like to bring in. So this is very fluid and still kind of a concept for us, but just visit our website, just to kind of keep track of those upcoming events. So without further ado, Chris Watson, my good friend, Exchange SE. Yeah, go for it, Chris.
Perfect. Getting my slides up here. Everyone can see my PowerPoint. Hopefully just my PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Looks good, Chris.
Perfect. I was told I have 4 hours here and I can read directly off the PowerPoints word for word. So it'll be a great day for everyone that's joining. Just kidding. You know me, I don't read slides. I do have a joke to start us out. I saw this the other day. You put 1,000 monkeys in a room with 1,000 typewriters and give them 1,000 years, they will be able to write every OS there is known to man, except for Windows 8, because not even a monkey would forget the start menu. Hopefully everyone gets that one. They did do a rewrite or a revision and called it 8.1, so the monkeys did a little bit help. Basically, we're going to go through the new Exchange SE. The next slide, there it is. Agenda, basically we'll be covering some comprehensive overview of Exchange SE, some benefits, migration path. And then if we get time, we still have a half hour of the 3.5 hours left. I can go through Server 2025 a little bit and some of the new features there. So we'll see how much people stick around for that one. Key features of Exchange SE, blah, blah, blah. All this is the marketing, Microsoft marketing stuff. That marketing is very important. I don't want to say it's not because they're on here. It is very important, but I tend to skip some of this. TLS 1.3, so that'll be kind of where one of the biggest changes will be. The other is the subscription-based licensing. Every licensed user on-prem is going to have to require a license that will be set up in a tenant. Certificate management, I never had a problem with the web version of it, but we'll see what it looks like and my guess is it's going to go back to like the 2010 or 2007 version or 2008 version or 2007. Wow. Exchange SE will not support existence with 2013. And it does support Exchange or Server 2025. So we'll kind of go with that. It does support 2019 and 2022, but it does add in the support for 2025. Here's all the fluff: increased productivity, better collaboration, higher reliability, and return on investment. I think the return on investment is for Microsoft because they're selling it by subscription rather than cows. Again, just some fluff that Microsoft throws in here. Plan it, figure out what you have, and then communication going forward. Price, here we go. Now we're going to get into what everybody wants to hear. Exchange SE, no clue. They have not told us yet, and I have no idea when it's coming out. Sad but true. It's free/included with E3 and E5 licenses. So if you have some E3 and E5 licenses and want to keep the mailboxes on-prem, you certainly can. You do not need a CAL/subscription for that user. You still need to pay for the Exchange SE server. Let's go forward here. Okay, so back to the Exchange SE, we do not know what the price of the hybrid server is. We do not know what the price of the Exchange SE is. The hybrid will still come with that included license when you have O365 to put those in and those types of things. How much it'll be per user, I don't know yet. They have not come out with that. I mean, Exchange SE ends, or Exchange 2019 and 2016 end of life in October, middle October. So my guess is October 1st, we'll hear about pricings and it'll be available on October 7th. So you have a whole week to get this updated. Typical Microsoft. And then you'll have to set up a tenant. If you're on-prem, you'll still have to set up a tenant in O365, sync it up, and then those licenses will be tied up there from what I understand. Server 2025, I'm going to bring up a little bit of Server 2025 just because our recommendation, and you'll see here in a little bit, is that we really if you're in a hybrid situation or even on-prem, let's put it on 2025 so that we're not dealing with this probably for another 6 years. So hopefully we can get past the next hurdle of whatever that's going to be. User CALs, free or included with E3 and E5 licenses. So again, if you have a bunch of E3 licenses, you do not need Windows Server CALs for those. So if you have E5, you don't need Exchange CALs and you don't need user CALs for Server 2025. And then here's where Microsoft's gray comes in. So let's say you have a hybrid server and you have every mailbox up in the cloud because it's a hybrid. If your server is not accessed by users, you generally do not need user client access licensing. They're needed for users or devices that connect to its services, file storage, or printing. So technically a hybrid server that's 2025, according to Microsoft's wording, you would not need user CALs. What you would need is the server license, and that is based on how many cores of the physical server or total cores of the VM host. So if you're buying a server 2025 and you're just going to put the hybrid on it, you technically should not need user CALs for the server 2025 until you start putting it in to more of your production areas where people at least start checking on. Then they put, however, if the server is involving tasks that involving management and other devices, you might need. I could never find out what a management license was or where anything else was on it. So I'm going to say that we can still probably get away with a 2025 bought by the CAL or the cores and not have CALs added to it if you're just putting the hybrid on it. At least that's how I am reading it. Migration process for hybrids. Let's say you're on 2016. We're going to spin up a server 2025. You will need the server license. Again, if you want to put it on to 2022, 2019, because you already have licensing for those, you certainly can. Install Exchange 2019. Get it up to the latest CU, which you should be on when you downloaded it, and then the current SU, or the security update. Set up the new Exchange server as a hybrid, so you're going to run the Exchange hybrid config wizard again, telling it to use the new server. Decom the old 2016 server, and then you're good to go, and you're ready for SE once it starts. 2019, let's go through that real quick. Spin up a 2025 server. This may or not be needed. If your server 2025 or the server 2019 is still on a server 2016, yeah, you're going to want to get rid of that 2016 and put it on at least a 2019, 2022. Again, like I said, a 22 and a 25 server would be the best for that. Install or update to Exchange 2019 CU15. Set up the new Exchange server as the new hybrid, unless you're just upgrading the hybrid that's already there. Decom the old 2019 server if needed. Once you're to this point, Microsoft has done something I never thought they would ever do. And in fact, when I was at a training conference, there was a gentleman that said that he does this, and we all kind of went, yeah, we don't think so, but okay. Exchange SE is a in-place upgrade from Exchange 2019 CU15. So 2019 CU15 is the very, very last CU that's coming. There is no more CUs that are coming out this year for 2016 or 2019. There'll be some security updates until the end of there. If you're in a hybrid situation and you don't need any access for those mailboxes to the outside world, and if you've done a project with us and you migrated those up, we probably told you go ahead and block the firewall to that Exchange server, except for O365. So we're still recommending that, getting that blocked off. If it's not, please do. The only reason why is if somebody gets a little late on updating from 2019 to SE, you're still blocking those 0 days that are coming out. Because my guess is there are going to be some 0 days for 2016, 2019, probably around November, and then some hacks probably happening right before Thanksgiving like normal. So again, just locking those down if you don't quite get to the end of those cutoff dates in October. On-prem server, 2016, you're going to spin up a 2025 server. Again, I'm not saying that you have to, I'm just saying that's our recommendations. Install 2019, migrate the mailboxes just like you normally would, and then decom the 2016 server. Server 2019, spin up a server, install, update to 2019 CU15, migrate the mailboxes, decom the old Exchange server if there. Same thing that's going to happen is you're going to upgrade or do an in-place upgrade to Exchange SE when it comes out. The thing with that is when you're on-prem, we're still trying to figure out that cost and whether or not it's going to, whether Microsoft's going to price it out to make everyone go to the cloud, or if they're going to price it enough where people may or may not be willing to keep on-prem at that point. Well, everyone says how great AI is, and I love it, except I asked Microsoft to do a Microsoft Exchange hybrid server little picture. And as you can see, it couldn't even spell Microsoft right. And this was from Copilot. So yeah, when it says AI is not always that great, and to check it, this is why. And I even made sure I looked at the prompt and it was Microsoft. So Exchange server migration path. After October 14th, all previous versions of Exchange will be out of support. Exchange SE version blocks the coexistence with all previous versions. So once you get to Exchange SE, you need to make sure that you have, or once you try to go and install Exchange SE, you need to make sure that all your other servers are 2019. Then you need to make sure everything is on Exchange SE before you do Exchange SE CU1. So in other words, if you have multiple servers on-prem, you need to get all of them to Exchange SE before you can do SE or CU1. That is coming out probably a month or two after the Exchange SE comes out, or when the other one comes end of support. So it's a little still up in the air on that one. Microsoft, I think, has a date, but who knows if they're going to keep that one. Exchange 2019 CU15 blocks coexistence with Exchange 2013. If you still have 2013, definitely talk to us, as we need to get some stuff taken care of. And I still have a couple customers with Exchange 2010. So again, you're not in the last of the boat, but let's talk about getting you off the 2010s and 2013s, please. You need to get Exchange SE needs a subscription, and I don't think I put this in a later thing, but you also need software assurance from what I'm reading. So I think that's where the support or the updates for Exchange SE are coming from. So again, the download for our Exchange SE is actually going to be in the admin portal, or your O365 admin portal. So it's going to come from there. So if you don't have licenses and a hybrid setup and stuff like that, you're not going to be able to download it. So that's why I'm saying, even if you don't have a tenant now and you're going to keep with on-prem, you're going to need an subscription license or a tenant to get those things moved over. If you still have some mailboxes on-prem, let's start working on getting those either to the cloud only, or figuring out which ones can go shared, and then figuring out if you still need some of those on-prem. If you do need them on-prem, you need to buy the Exchange SE license, server license. So if you're in a hybrid, you get that free included with your subscription base to run on-prem. If you have mailboxes on it, though, you're going to have to pay for the Exchange server SE. So just keep that in mind, that if you still want a couple of mailboxes on-prem, you're going to need to buy the Exchange SE server license and then license every one of those like you would just in the cloud as well. HPN recommends upgrading ASAP to Exchange 2019 on Windows Server 2025 to prepare. Again, Windows 2022 is supported. I would definitely say I say ASAP just because you're not wanting to deal with all of this in October or the late September before you're having to do the in-place upgrade. Just gives you time to get it done, do anything that you need to do beforehand. If you're keeping it on-prem, definitely let's get all your stuff set up to 2019, latest update, and get you rolling. So all you have to do is find out pricing and keep everyone on-prem for that port. Again, it's going to be an in-place upgrade to Exchange 20 from Exchange 2019. Again, this is the biggest thing that I've ever seen Microsoft do is a in-place upgrade on an Exchange server. It kind of makes me wonder why they couldn't do it on 2016 to 2019, but hey, it is what it is. Older versions of Exchange cannot coexist with SE. So once you try and put in SE, you can't have it Exchange 2016. If you do, when you try installing it, it's going to error out. HPN can assist with upgrades and migrations from older to M365 and kind of help with what you want to do with some licensing, stuff like that. As soon as we get pricing, hopefully we can get that out to marketing so that you guys know. Basically everyone that enjoyed the lunch and learn and this now spill the beans, we can hopefully get marketing to give those out to you once we get some pricing and dates and stuff like that. Do I need a hybrid? Most asked question in the last year, and I'm going to say probably in the last 2, if not 3. Do I need a hybrid? Well, my answer is still yes. The reason being is now if you want, you can do the following. So I'm going to tell you what else you can do and then the reasons why we say probably keep a hybrid. So basically you need to ensure all mailboxes, public folders, all that's to Exchange Online. All your SMTP relays are gone. And basically you have to put in an IS SMTP relay on a different server if you still need to relay off of that. Microsoft, if you're using a connector that accepts SMTP from an IP, Microsoft is looking at getting rid of that and putting it as a certificate-based only. So if they go to that, most multifunctions are not doing a lot of that or even being able to do half of what they need to do just to get it to O365. So we're still recommending an SMTP relay. Install the updated management tools on a domain joined machine. So usually the SMTP relay and this Exchange management tools is on the same one. And by management tools, I do mean the PowerShell tools. Remove the Exchange server. Well, not really. You're turning off the server. Do not uninstall or remove the server from the domain. So in other words, you're not decomming out the Exchange server. You're not taking that server off the domain. You're literally just shutting it off. And then at that point, if you want to delete it, you can. Hold on to it, you can. Do whatever you want. Microsoft says just turn it off, but leave the AD object there. So all the AD objects that are there still need to stay into AD. So the computer object, all of the Exchange attributes, and all of those objects out there still need to stay. So again, by the time you do all of this, I think it's better to just keep the hybrid. It's better to have a nice GUI to go to and to make all those changes. Yes, you can go into AD, go into attributes, and change the mailboxes or the aliases and primary SMTP and all that stuff there. again, it just makes it a little bit more cleaner and easier in my opinion. Or, hold on. Let's hear me out here. And I know a lot of people, as soon as I say this, are going to be like, what? Let's go to move it to cloud only. Okay. So some of the people that have a hybrid and they're looking at getting rid of that or moving their everything to the cloud, basically is just kind of like it says, move everything to the cloud, get rid of your on-prem AD. We have a couple of customers that are doing this and a couple more that are starting the process of it. We did have schools do this a lot, probably like 2 years ago or 3 years ago when COVID was on, because they were like, they're not coming into the school. Let's just get them over to cloud only and have everything, do that up there. And by that, basically you're moving your machines up to O365. You're basically cutting the sync with your on-prem AD, getting your files up to SharePoint or some other file sharing type situation, and then kind of decomming that on-prem Exchange or the whole on-prem, and then everything's maintained through O365 at that point. This can sound a little bit scary or a little bit, oh man, and I tell you, 2-3 years ago, I would not have even suggested this. But we're actually suggesting this for some companies now that can do it. Again, you've got to watch your file printer or your file servers. What are you going to do with those files? That type of stuff. What is your stuff that runs on-prem legacy that needs to tie into AD? How can we get those moved up to a cloud? Those types of things. Here at HighPoint, we're actually in the process of getting rid of our on-prem AD and looking at just cloud only. So there are some things that we're even doing internally that are kind of mimicking what we're suggesting as well. And then we have another company that's starting their applications and getting those tied into O365 as enterprise apps and those types of things. So definitely something to think about and kind of go through. It is kind of a neat thing to kind of talk about. Some next steps, conclusions, figure out the migration. It's very important. Figure out what we want to do, how you want to do it, when you're going to do it. Follow the steps to get to Exchange SE. Realizing the benefits. Again, if most of these are in a hybrid type situation, there's not much to do. We've got a scope of work template that we already have that we can get to you guys to basically get the process rolling. We had a call this morning with a company that we're actually going to be helping with the hybrid 2016 migration. So again, it's kind of that whole let's figure out what needs to be done and everything else. If you are on-prem and going to stay on-prem, let's maybe have a better conversation or another conversation after this. I didn't really do a lot of on-prem Exchange stuff just because 90% of everyone is in a hybrid type situation. But if you do have on-prem Exchange still, reach out to us. We can talk to you about the different ways of getting that up to Exchange or to O365, or helping you get to the point where you're ready for Exchange SE. And then once pricing comes out, we can kind of help you with, what needs to be done there. Do we have any questions at all?
I don't see any in the chat at this time, but this is definitely a good time. If people want to unmute themselves or post questions in the chat, certainly can do that at this time.
Let's stop sharing that real quick.
Chris, just to give you a little breather, and while you're transitioning, I was taking some notes while you're speaking, and I just want to reiterate some of the things that you said. That there's a lot of moving pieces and parts, depending if you're, on-prem or hybrid, and, what version of Exchange you're on and so forth, and what does licensing look like depending on this and that. And there's so many moving parts. So, one of the primary values that we bring to the table is that we want to listen to your specific situation, and we want to understand your business needs and also your vision. So just to repeat what Chris said, we'd like to have that conversation with you, so that we can put you on the right path. I mean, the metaphor is like if you're building a house, you don't want to put the drywall in and then be like, oh, geez, we should have done the plumbing first, and then have to, start over, or waste time and money when it comes to that. Then I just in closing, and then Chris, go ahead and take over again. But Chris mentioned, in cloud, Chris mentioned on-prem, Chris mentioned hybrid. And, we're a fan of all those different situations based on your business needs. So there will never be any pressure from us to do one or the other. We just want to understand your needs and meet those any way we can. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Yep. If any questions come up, just let me know. I can certainly do that. I'm going to go into a little bit of migrating, upgrading to Server 2025 a little bit here. When I was out at Ignite last year, went to a Server 2025 class. It was actually pretty good. Gave out a lot of information. Some of the bigger ones, and we actually just had a conversation with this today with people, is N4 upgrade support. So most server upgrades were N2. So in other words, you could go from 2016 to 2022. You could go 2 up. Server 2025 is N4. So we can go from R2 to 2025. So huge thing that has come out of that. Couple gotchas with that, though, are do not do it on a domain controller. Don't do it on probably a SQL server. Don't do it on an Exchange server. Microsoft says most or some of these are, what am I trying to say? Allowed, but I wouldn't recommend it. They're not, most of them are allowed, but not recommended. The DC is not allowed or recommended at all. They also made it very simple. So this one, they made it very simple to upgrade to Server 2025. So simple, in fact, there's a little pop-up that says, hey, you need to update your Windows Server. Just like when you went from 10 to 11, it said, hey, you can go to 11. This says, hey, you can go to 2025, and you can click OK. And it says, some blobs up there, some end user license agreement stuff. And then you, of course, read all of those pages like everyone. You read everything that it says in there, and you just hit accept, and it says, okay, I'm going to upgrade this to 2025. What it's saying in that box is that you might need to make sure that you have licensing for Server 2025 and that you have CALs for 2025. So basically, they're saying, yeah, we're going to make this really easy, but make sure you pay us for this stuff. And if you don't, well, that's okay. You can upgrade to 2025, buy them later. However, it's not reversible. So you cannot go back from 2025 back down to, let's say, 2022, 2019. It is a one-way trip. 10, when you went to 11, you could, kind of go back if you wanted to. This will not allow you to go back. So on some of these, you shouldn't have it, but like on an RDS server, wanting to make sure that your updates are hidden from normal users because it does not require admin permissions. A regular standard user can accept the update. So some things in there that you really want to be careful of updating, how you update, and where you're pulling those updates from and who has access to them. So here's the important information. product key purchase required, all that stuff, and then back up your data. This is it, accept and install. That's all there is of what it is, and then there's where you go, and it starts, and you're running. There is no WSUS support for Windows Server features in 2020-25. The reason is Microsoft really wants you to pay for Intune, or use Intune, I should say, not pay for, but you know what I mean. Let's go. And then there is disabling feature updates in group policy. I can get these, Abby already has these, so if you want this PDF or my slides from the previous one, reach out to marketing and they can certainly get those sent over to you. Basically how to update, disable them through registry, and then how to turn them back on. And then locking down, again, upgrade is one way. Do not make the mistake of doing it, or you will be kind of there. Then need to reactivate after upgrade. And then if you have a KMS host, then you can, add that in for that. I have heard that if you do an in-place upgrade of a KMS host, it will break and it will not work. So another one of those like SQL Exchange domain controllers that you just want to kind of keep away from. Clusters, I'm going to kind of get through that. Where is it? Stop here. Scroll through all this. Some new AD policies for Server 2020-25. Local admin accounts can now be locked out. Before it could not. So if you had a administrator account, it was on a domain controller, or even just on not on a domain controller, but a regular server, just as the local admin account, that can be locked out now. Default account lockout settings are 10 failures for 10 minutes, and then for another 10 minutes for the reset. There. There are some things in LAPS. If you don't have LAPS, LAPS is a good one to get into. They do automatic account management. They will do passphrases now so that they're a little more easier to get out of there. Reliability support, so it removes similar characters, the capital I, lowercase l, ones, zeros, Qs, Os, stuff like that. And then rollback protection. Passwords and scripts, we're kind of still seeing this. Again, we're kind of getting off topic of 2025, but it is there. There's some default templates, making sure that you go through and redo some of those. Enable your recycle bin. NTLM will be deprecated around June 2024. It's not recommended since 2010. By 2025, in Server 2025, NTLM, if you set up a new domain, NTLM is off by default, the same with SMB. Hyper-V, I know the biggest thing that they brought up at Ignite were how many of you got in your VMware no licenses. That was their big push of, hey, check out Hyper-V and go from there. There was one thing that's pretty cool. I should have pulled these scripts out of here a little bit. Trying to find the Server 2025 in VMware. There it is. It's a little bigger. So basically this one has 1,792 virtual processors and 29.7 terabytes of RAM. So that's how the biggest that you can get in Azure VM right now of Server 2025. So I'm sure it's pennies every nanosecond that you basically run this. Hyper-V, basically you can do up to 4 petabytes of RAM now with 2048 logical processors. So again, there's some big improvements in scale of Server 2025. Let's see. Dean, Brandy, how am I doing on time?
You got about, yeah, you're running right about 15 minutes to the top of the hour. So you're doing pretty good on time, actually.
Yeah, got about 3 hours left, Chris. So go for it.
Awesome.
Yeah, so 4 hours.
Awesome. So one thing that I like to talk about, and it's just me kind of talking about some of the new AI stuff, is you saw the slide deck I was doing, and all it was a slide deck. You can actually, and I don't know why I'm marketing Google stuff, but it is the coolest stuff in the world, where it is called Notebook LM. And if you love podcasts, you will love Notebook LM. Let me pull that up again. So basically you go to Notebook LM and you will dump in a PDF, text file, something like that. And it will make a podcast between two people. I had this up earlier and then it got closed.
Chris, while you're doing that and while we transition, I want the folks to know that, not only are we talking about Exchange SE and the upgrade or the migration or whatever that may be, but just also know that we can wrap security services around that to ensure that whatever choice you make is secured and hardened with Microsoft recommendations, and then also sometimes we call it the secret sauce, and what that means is additional configurations and insights in regards to what our security team has seen and our engineers. And then also our smart services that we can also wrap around that. I'll just call it email firewall for lack of a better word, that we can align with your security risks and then also your compliance needs, which might be, like archiving and things like that. So just know that we don't just stop at migration or upgrading, but also wrapping all those security services around it as well. Okay, thanks, Chris.
Yep. So basically, like I said, I put that whole PDF that was just basic slides from there. So there was nothing really technical in there other than, stuff that common knowledge to some people. I'm hoping this comes through. Let me know if you can hear this, Dean.
Okay, we'll do.
Can you hear it?
No, I can't, but I'm excited to see it. If this doesn't work, folks, when we post this online later, Chris, we can certainly cut that into the recording. So,
Perfect.
yeah, I'm excited to see that. Chris, was it a recording of me?
No, I haven't done yours yet.
Okay, because I know you were recording me a week ago, and I was prepared to say, "Wow, that's a handsome man."
Oh, no. This is basically just the PDF. It's not even the recording.
Okay.
Let me go to.
Oops, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try it one more time.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
By Chris
Here
Watson,
now.
All right.
senior Microsoft engineer at High Point,
There we go, Chris.
I
Sounds
know.
good.
during a Thursday
You
lunch.
can hear it?
Okay.
So super
Yes.
casual setting,
Yeah.
but the content is anything but.
Oh, is that right?
It's all about the brand new Exchange Server SE
Oh, wow. Okay.
and a whole bunch of updates really around Microsoft's server ecosystem
Mhm.
and how it's.
So again, that was just the PDF of the presentation from Ignite. Totally amazing. I love it so much that I will take all of my white papers and stuff like that and put it into there. Again, kind of watch what you have going on with AI policies internally. Make sure there's no, company data in there and stuff like that. I'll make sure that I reiterate that we definitely want to make sure that you're not putting company data in Google. I mean, Google already has your data. It's just why give it to them easier. But there's a couple other things like these where, they just make your life easier and go from there. I'll be in Fargo next month or the following month, doing a presentation on Copilot AI and kind of what this Notebook LM has kind of been doing for us going forward as well. Like when Dean talks about doing podcasts and stuff like that, he's just going to use this. That's all it is. He's just literally going to put it into AI and have it spit out the whole thing. That's all he's doing.
That's
I'm just
awesome, man.
kidding.
No,
and then
it's
I'm
super
gonna
cool.
put a shameless plug in for, especially if trying to go to, you're trying to make sure that you are more secure in these days where it's hard to become secure. We are doing a couple scanning things that you can talk to your account manager about. One being the on-prem scan, and then the other being a cloud scan, and then getting back a report on that. So if you have any questions, talk to your account managers on those, because we're seeing a couple of them come through. We're getting a lot of feedback on them that, hey, this is good. It gave us some good information and stuff like that. So, and then we can help with remediation once those are done if need be. I see a lot of familiar faces in here. Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, Chris,
Wow.
and for those of us that are, just learning about High Point Networks and maybe don't have a partnership with us, give us a call, email sales at highpointnetworks.com. I promise that we will not hound you or spam you, after we have a conversation. If it's a good fit, great. If it's not, no problem. It's our company operates differently in that I promise we won't, hound you or bug you after the fact. We just love to have a conversation with you and just get to know you.
Perfect. Well, I don't see any more questions in the chat. I'm going to open it up, just kind of final call for questions. If you have it, go ahead and unmute yourself or put it in the chat. But final call, I'll pause for just a minute here and.
Yeah, Brandy, hey, while we're pausing and giving people a chance to kind of crack their knuckles and warm up their voice for questions, Chris, can you kind of remind me here? So if people want to upgrade or migrate, you suggested kind of like a general date to do that. What was that again?
You're going to want to do it now, but you're going to have to do it by mid-October to be in compliance, per se, of making sure that you're off the 2016, 2019 at that point.
Okay, gotcha. I would just, to substantiate what Chris is saying, our engineers are very busy throughout the year. There are some dips where they're a little bit, not as busy as other times of the season. So like Chris is saying, if you can take advantage of our engineers now rather than later, one of their busy seasons is the fall. Our university customers, our school customers, and things. Everybody's getting back in the swing of things. The hacking season, that Chris talked about. So yeah, sooner or later to have that conversation. Absolutely. And yeah, I think as far as my notes, Chris, that's all I've got. Brandy, did we have any questions that came up?
No, we do not. Although there
Wanted
was a
to know if
question.
you were part of the Blue Man Group, and that's from Kevin. Kevin, you're just, I love it.
Do I get
You
to
look-
play the drums? Is that what that is?
I don't know. You look blue. Is all.
You look,
You have a
yeah, you look
hue
blue.
today. You do- yeah.
Oh, maybe I need some oxygen or something. You know what it is? I need some more caffeine from spilling.
There you
beans.
go.
You need some more hard-boiled eggs.
Jeez, I love it. Well, thank you both so much. Dean, thank you. Chris, thank you so much for the information. I do know, like you said, October is kind of there's some stuff going in life. Want to try and have the conversation sooner rather than later so that you're not behind the 8 ball. It was so fun to get on the call today, A, just because it's our first one of the season and I just love these. B, seeing the familiar faces. And then I just love getting on here and seeing our team. And I think it's that cohesiveness. I mean, I see we've got our renewals folks that deal with Microsoft licensing all day long, our inside sales folks, our sales folks. So just know that we are a community of people that are here to support you, whichever direction you decide to go. And I think that's super unique. And that's why I love our people so much, because it doesn't really matter what direction you want to go. We want to go in that direction with you. Thank you all so much for your time. We have recorded this. I will post the recording. We'll send a little message to you once the recording is posted. We typically post them on YouTube just so they're accessible and you can share them out for maybe folks within your organization, or if you have buddies that are in tech that might want this information. We'll get that out there as well. As always, you can email the marketing group if you need something. We are here. We'll help you. And with that, I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks again, Chris. Thanks again, Dean. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
You guys.